Yeah, looking forward to this one. Should be good. We had a chat before around the plans for this new channel and what we're aiming to do with it. We talked about some of the upcoming events that we've got going on, some of the things happening in the business. So yeah, keen to see if there's been any updates. I know I've been working hard on a few things, so got some exciting stuff to share. And yeah, see where we go with the conversation today, really.
So the gym this morning, how was that? Did you survive it?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, the gym this morning was good. Good way to start the day. Always try and get down there. Most mornings, schedule dependent, unless I've got like a really early podcast or an early meeting or something like that. But no, it was good fun. Got there, worked hard, had a sauna, kind of sweat out the toxins, and then just get ready to start the day. So I always feel better after doing that. A cold plunge, cold shower. I feel like it's a little hack to start the day with. And then, yeah, I've actually just recently got the Meta Quest 3, like the virtual reality headset. And so I've been using that as well on the days that I can't get down the gym, or if I'm like at a hotel or something for a conference that I can't get out and exercise for, then I've been using that the last few days. And yeah, it's really good. Very immersive shadow boxing and like VR workouts. So it's absolutely pouring the sweat after one of those workouts. So it's good fun. I love like the idea of working out, you know, in virtual reality. It's just so cool to be able, like if you're in some really boxy little hotel room at a conference or something, and then suddenly you can put this thing on and you're in this like mountainous, or one of the things is in like the space station. So you can see Earth like floating past you and you're just doing a workout on the space station. And another one is you're on like Mars and you can see all the different compounds and the igloo like houses that they've built. So it's crazy. But yeah, it makes me also think, well, it's great for fun, but I wonder if it's also potentially the future of like education. You know, I think it's a bit clunky currently, the way it's set up, and it's so cumbersome to put on. But imagine when it's baked into a contact lens, that technology, or just a pair of sunglasses, which I think pretty currently exists anyway. Imagine what you'd be able to achieve with like the Dropship Unlocked kind of program, for example, in VR or even AR format. So I'm sitting here, and then the person is sitting there like providing the content, and they're able to like interact with me, and then you interject AI into that as well, so I can have a live conversation with that person, but that person isn't actually having a conversation with me. They could be speaking to 5,000 of their course members simultaneously, but they could be sitting in the same room as you in your house. Like that's the next level of education, right? That's so hyper personalized. So yeah, whilst on a surface level I get it, so I can do like, you know, boxing in the gym in the morning, and it's good fun. I also quite like to have that glimpse into the future of what it could mean for education and the businesses that I'm in. So and with e-commerce as well, obviously, if you're wanting to see a product, we will see those things on the phone where like you can do augmented reality and see like if you were going to buy a new MacBook, Apple have it on their app where you can see the shape and size of the laptop on your desk, and you can see how it would fit and like what it would look like. Imagine being able to do that with anything you were going to buy in like super high definition, and not just through a phone, but using your glasses or your contact lenses, being able to like see, look, and haptic feedback gloves, being able to actually feel the product as well. That I feel like that is definitely the way things are going. So I quite like to try and be an early adopter of these technologies as and when they come out. So yeah, that's why I enjoy it.
We're really interested to see where this VR goes and all this AI integration.
Yeah.
And how you can use that in your work as well. It'd be quite interesting. There'll be so many different avenues. And I know for my work, I'm going to be able to use it, like have all my editing software up there.
Yeah.
My audio, everything, you know.
Well, we use it in the business every day, don't we? In so many areas. Like I heard about a piece of AI. I don't know what the tool is called, but it's like a technology where it can auto edit. So like this, we've got the 3 cameras here, but you can like auto feed this data into a AI tool later, and then it can see like, okay, you made eye contact with that lens, like cut to that camera, and you suddenly don't need to like spend hours of time like editing it all together. Your time can be used so much more effectively because you're not having to like piece together little bits and sync up the audio and stuff. So it's fascinating stuff. I think it's going to move us forward in a lot of different areas. We use it for the podcast, we use it for obviously customer support, we use it for like module design, so many things.
That's that. When first AI first came out, I was actually worried about it. I thought it would start taking jobs. It would start taking. It's actually adding to people's jobs. You just have to change in the dynamic, how things work.
And it will. You're right. I think it will definitely take jobs. I mean, I'm sure it already is, right? But I think our responsibility is to adapt and be like, okay, well, electricity took jobs when it was invented, right? The people that drove the horse and carts, or that like fed coal into the, the things that needed power before. You adapt, right? And you say, okay, well, it's our responsibility to keep our skills sharp, and in an evolving world, continue to contribute. So, yeah, the AI enhanced version of a videographer in the future, I'm sure, will be very different to what a videographer of the past would have been, where you'd have to get all your film and roll it up, and we advance with the technology, don't we? Yeah, I've been reading a book recently by Brian Tracy, who's kind of a great personal development coach. I'm sure many people will have heard of him, but it's a great book, and it's called Goals. And it's funny, so much of the literature out there and so much of the education stems from a few original sources, and I think he's one of the early innovators in that space. And because so much of it is familiar, I'm reading it and I'm like, I've heard this in 5 or 6 other different formats since, through courses I've done where they talk about, and I mean, I use it, right? And I didn't even know that that's maybe where it was originally coming from. Even I teach it, and it's around taking the actions of the person that you want to become to ensure that you build the belief that you are that person, to ensure that you then eventually become that person, and how we're always becoming a version of ourselves. We're never done. We never kind of fixate and stagnate in a certain level. You're always resetting the goals. But also the chapter that I was reading this morning was really interesting about your goals are just your goals really you can't create goals until you really understand your deep values and what your intrinsic inner values are. You can tell a lot about someone's values by the actions that they're taking. It's you're able to peek into their soul and see if what they're doing on the outside is reflective of their own self-belief and self-esteem on the inside. So it's fascinating to think that that's kind of where it all stems from, and that we can choose those values, we can change those things and those goals, and then those are reflected in action. So it's easier said than done, and it gets very deep, but sometimes it's easy to spend the whole day in the inbox and going into different aspects of projects and getting caught in the weeds. But sometimes I like to just zoom out and think, what kind of entrepreneur do I even want to be? What are my values? And one of the things he was saying in that book, I definitely recommend reading it if you haven't. It's called Goals by Brian Tracy. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, and I love going back to the originals, back to the old ones. I don't know what year it came out in, but it's a really good book. And I tend to try and read a book and listen to it on Audible simultaneously, try and absorb it, but not necessarily at the same time. So I'll do it where as I'm going to bed, I'll read it on the Kindle, but then the next morning I'll listen on Audible. But on Audible, I might be a little bit further behind than where I was on Kindle. So I'm hearing a chapter that I read last night, and you'd think, well, you've already read that, but often it doesn't always go in when you're quite tired and you're reading. So hearing it reiterated in audio format the next day is really good. So yeah, definitely recommend that. It's a good book to check out, Goals by Brian Tracy, if you haven't already read that one. Yeah, what's happening in Dropship Unlocked at the moment? So we've got some exciting initiatives happening. So we talked about this, and we had our first one in December of last year, where we had our live members meetup. So that's the event that the members of our masterclass come to, and we usually run them once every 3 or 4 months. And it was because we heard demand from our members that they wanted that kind of deeper level of connection with each other. They wanted to be able to meet up in person and talk and network and have food and drinks together and just get around each other, so that they could take their businesses to the next level, and also so that they didn't feel so disconnected from working on a remote online e-commerce business, because it can be quite lonely. So we launched the first of those in December of last year, and we have the next one of those coming up soon in April. So that's going to be fun. We've got a great venue booked in central London for that in the evening. So that's a really big thing, and that's definitely a huge perk to our members that didn't used to exist. So that's something that we're working on. And the other thing we have is for our existing members in the masterclass, we've launched something called the Dropship Unlocked Inner Circle. So that's like the next level of support that people can get. That's really if you're hitting consistently £10,000 a month with your business and you're ready to now take it to 100 or 150 or 200. And that's the point where we can get together in person directly with me and James for a full day once a quarter and help you specifically on your business challenges. So that's like personal hand-holding, kind of very, very in-depth support. That's like full day mastermind sessions, whereas peer-to-peer support, but also James and I are there in the room. We then take our inner circle members out on these amazing experiences. So we've got some really exciting stuff planned. I won't spill the beans just yet. I don't want to spoil the surprise for them, but we've got some really cool stuff planned for them. And then, we'll take them out for like a nice event after the mastermind event, and then onto the meetup where the rest of the masterclass members will be coming in for the evening networking drinks, which will just be for a few hours in the evening. So it's really nice. It's nice to see the two kind of sides of the business coming together. Those people that are at that level where they're ready for the next step in their business entrepreneurial evolution, and then also the people that maybe are just getting started and just want to be around others and feel a bit more connected. So it's definitely one of the big advantages, and something that I was very passionate about doing, because it can become a bit of a lonely field just running an online business where you never actually connect or see anyone in person. So, and then of course we've got this YouTube channel as well, which is more of a passion project than anything else, that I just wanted to share a bit more of behind the scenes of what it's like in the day-to-day life, and also connect with people maybe outside of the confines of just talking about dropshipping, but also just be able to connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs and see where this takes us really. So this one's exciting. It's an ongoing project. There's lots of other stuff happening behind the scenes. There's lots of automations being built out. There's lots of different, like our email sequences are being optimized and split tested as we speak. We've got new offers being launched. We're looking at doing like a kind of a one-day regular event as well, which I think will be a great thing to do. So that will be something that we'll be able to roll out to give people a real kind of immersive entry point into the business. Because currently the way that people would join us is that maybe you've listened to a lot of the podcast or you've watched a lot of videos and you decide that you want to apply to be part of our team. You book in an application, you speak to an enrollment advisor on our team, and then if selected, then you can join us. But we want to kind of make it so that people can experience like a good proportion or a good slice of what it would be like, and give them a really in-depth thing. And you can't really do that in like a short video, so it has to be a bit of a longer event. So we think we're going to do like a Zoom style event fairly frequently, where we'll just go really, really deep on it, and then offer the opportunity for anyone that wants to take it further. At that point, they can still work with us. But that's exciting, not something I've ever done before, so looking forward to that one. Loads of moving parts with that though, and it brings with it a whole raft of challenges, but it's very I think it's new, it's interesting, exciting, and I feel like we are making progress by moving in that direction, and that's what gets me excited. That's what keeps me pumped about running this business. It's because progress is ultimately the goal, right? You want to continually be moving forwards, whether that's developing the product or developing yourself personally. Yeah, the thing with AI is it's like a real buzzword, isn't it? Like everyone's applying AI to everything, and I think you can like slap the word AI on a business, and then suddenly you can claim that it's like revolutionized the business. But realistically, where AI really comes into e-commerce is like elevating the things that are already working really well. So yes, we are using it in e-commerce, but it's not fundamentally changed the business model that we use. I mean, it has in the sense of advertising has become a lot more effective because of the machine learning algorithms and the AI machine learning of Google's and Meta's advertising platforms, and how they seek and find new customers. But in terms of like service delivery, when you're delivering, you're still running ads, you're still sending them to humans who are the suppliers, and then they're still sending the physical products out to customers. So there's not a huge amount really there that needs to be transferred over to artificial intelligence. Where it comes in are things like taking your customer service to the next level and getting hyper personalized with how that customer service looks. So, for example, having learning language models with like natural language understanding applied to them, so that if you have a customer who's on live chat with your store, rather than having to have your virtual assistant there on 5 different live chats at midnight trying to close sales, transferring that over to AI. Once you've prompted it correctly, set the parameters, set the rules, and you've like worked with it in a playground environment to test that it doesn't just go off the rails and start recommending random products for random scenarios, it can become extremely effective, to the point where customers don't even know they're not interacting with a human, because it doesn't matter. And they're actually probably getting better and faster and more personalized service than if they were interacting with a human, because the human's going to be there like, okay, I've got 10 tickets open, it's midnight, I'm really tired. You know, they are only human, right? Whereas a machine never gets tired. It will always get back to people instantly. It has a huge breadth of knowledge of all of the product and all of the questions that have ever been asked and answered by your team, and it can respond to people like that instantly. So that's where I see AI having the biggest impact on our model. We're not the kind of shiny object, hey, let's drop everything we're doing because AI is here, and like drop a proven model. Like, we still make hundreds of thousands of pounds per month with a proven, sustainable, long-term business model that is selling high-ticket products to customers and offering great customer support. Now, the way that AI can enhance that, I think, is the question, and that will be the thing that allows people to scale to the next level. Yeah, I think something that we're looking at, certainly at Dropship Unlocked, is how AI could help in the way that I just mentioned that it can help in e-commerce, which is customer support. Well, I get a lot of DMs from people that have really like open-ended, intricate questions that I'd love to have the hours in the day to be able to be like, I'm just going to spend the next 7 hours responding to DMs and people's specific scenarios and questions. The reality is I don't have that time. But what's the next best thing? Potentially an even better thing is if I can somehow like download my brain into a learning library, a knowledge library, and then allow people to interact with me on that level. And every answer that it gives them as me, as the Robo Lewis version of me, is based on a specific uploaded set of learning context that I gave it, whether that's the transcript from a Q&A call that we had with our clients, whether that's the transcript of a podcast, whether it's the transcript of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, like all the modules in our program, Dropship Unlocked. Whatever that context is, it should be able to reference the source of that information and give them the answer immediately within the context. Because I think the issue that people face when they start, for example, like asking ChatGPT how to run their e-commerce store, is that it's sourcing information from everywhere. So you're just getting this like huge confused mess of information that is from all of these different conflicting e-commerce business models, and it's trying to kind of piece together the best answer possible. But if you can kind of consolidate that source down and say, I only want it from one source, and it's the model that I'm using that's proven, that's works in the UK market, that works with selling high profit, high ticket, low volume products, it will keep you on track a lot better. And that's something that I've noticed is a bottleneck for me. Maybe the people that just want to interact with me on Instagram or on Facebook and drop me a message, I'm not able to get back to them as fast as I would like to. So being able to do that would allow me to really scale things and potentially speak to the people who it sounds like are a great fit for our program, and for us to actually work hands-on, one-on-one with, and to kind of say to them, well, look, would you like to book a call with us? Here's our calendar. Have a call, let's get you speaking with a member of the team, and then they can kind of assess whether you're at the position where we could help you or not. You can decide if you think it's right for you, and then at that point, you could end up joining us, but it hasn't required me to be physically available to facilitate that initial conversation. And I think that's going to unlock a lot of scale for us, and allow us to take our customer support even to the next level. With kids at the moment, I mean, it's I find that I have to be militant with my time and be very intentional ahead of time. If I like the days of, certainly at the moment, the phase of life that I'm in with 2 toddlers, if I'm not intentional about having that time set aside, then it just goes, it just dissipates and it's gone, and then suddenly before you know it, you're like putting the kids to bed and the evening is gone. So I try now I say to my wife, like we've kind of agreed, like let's at least have one dedicated date night per week where we can go out and get a meal and like have a really nice time together where it's just us. And the beauty of it, we actually went last night out to a restaurant, and the beauty of it is just that you get to finish a sentence. You can have a conversation without it being interrupted by a toddler. And for anyone that has kids, I'm sure you know this, that it sometimes the mental load of being interrupted constantly between every single thought, just because children just need attention, don't they? They just need you. They don't understand that you're midway through filming a podcast or what you're doing when they're 1 or 2 years old. And it can be quite mentally exhausting eventually. So my wife Becky's great. Like she really looks after them, but I can see that it also takes a toll on her as well. So I want to use the family support network that we have around us and really make sure that we're still kind of protecting our own relationship and that we get to that time that we initially got together. Because otherwise you end up like, we've had it certainly when the kids were really young, you're 2 or 3 weeks without having a dedicated like meal, just the two of you. You're so far behind in each other's lives, like you don't know what has been happening, because you don't have the debrief that we used to have after the end of every day. You don't get that for ages, and you start to forget about the things that you would have debriefed on last week, and it just kind of it just goes. So that's really important. So that was something we did yesterday, date night. There are some amazing places that I have been to, because my mum used to be cabin crew for Concorde, so she used to fly to like New York and back, like London to New York, probably 3 times a week, and because of that she was then British Airways like long haul cabin crew for a long time. So I ended up having staff travel, which is like where you can go on the plane and just pay the tax, I think. So it's like £100 to get to Brazil, for example. And I had that till I think I was 21, and I maximised the use of that, like as much as I possibly could. I travelled, and I used to sit on those, because it was crazy. You'd either get a business class seat for £100, which is just unheard of, or you'd get a jump seat, which is one of the fold down staff seats. So it was like one extreme to the other. Like the jump seat is like worse than, you know, any seat on the plane, because you're literally on a fold down seat with one of those like harness seat belts on. And I remember doing a London to Rio trip on one of those, just read the Lonely Planet guide to Brazil the whole way. That was hard, but yeah, some of the best places. I mean, some of the best places haven't been necessarily the most luxurious trips. Like I lived in Ghana for about probably 3 or 4 months, I think. Can't remember exactly how long, but that was like during university. And yeah, flew into Accra and then moved up to Kumasi in the north of Ghana. That was seriously remote for me. Like that was to the point where like people would just look at me walking down the street like I was completely alien, and that was a fascinating experience. Really friendly people, great food, great culture, like just completely eye-opening experience. Learned to speak a bit of the local language, Twi. And then also there's the complete other end of the spectrum, which is like going to Mauritius, where we went on our honeymoon, Becky and I, and that was really high end and an amazing experience for anyone that gets to go and stay in one of those like cabins that are above the water, and it's just like crystal clear water, and you can just dive straight in out of the the back of the pool. You can just dive straight into the sea, so that's really nice. So yeah, I mean, but so many different places I'm yet to explore, and would love to continue doing so. Yeah, it's a big conference coming up. So my friend John Pemberthy runs this event called AdCon, and it's I think the closest thing that you can kind of liken it to is the Traffic and Conversions Summit. That was a big conference that happens out in America, that he's kind of running the equivalent of now in the UK, and he did the first one last year. So I spoke at the 2023 AdCon, which was great fun. They had Devon Brown, who's the MC from Funnel Hacking Live, the ClickFunnels conference in America, which is this super high energy American conference. And he was great, like amazing. Like sat down with him and Neil Patel at the dinner afterwards, and we were just like sitting there eating sushi, chatting about life, and just some really good people there. Like John attract a really good crowd. It's a conference that's essentially for coaches, consultants, online course creators, things like that. So it's relevant, but it's not the necessarily the audience that would follow Dropship Unlocked necessarily. It's kind of, I guess I'm speaking there talking from my experience of running one of those companies rather than the e-commerce side of things. So it's a little bit of a different style of talk, but yeah, it should be fun. Looking forward to that one. If you're coming to AdCon, then looking forward to seeing you there. I think there are still tickets available, depending on when you're watching this, for the 2024 one. But yeah, last year, this conference was a great conference. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, looking forward to it. I think there's probably 500 people in the audience this year that are going to be there. I think they've already sold out of their main tickets and their VIP tickets. I think they might have some left, but I think there's minimum 500 this year. It's a bigger venue, I believe, than last year's one. Yes, there's always a level of adrenaline, and that I think you thrive on that when you're speaking, right? If you didn't have that, you probably wouldn't be on your A game. So it's good to harness that. I think the nerves only really come if you are unprepared and you don't know what you're going to say. So I want to make sure this year that I am comfortable enough to be able to talk around the topic and go off piste a little bit if needed, but also that I know the content well enough to ensure that I'm not nervous about it. I just feel that adrenaline of being in that room and the buzz of being around people. And it's great. Like, it's a really supportive crowd. Like, everyone wants to learn and absorb information and network with each other. So I think it's going to be another amazing event. Yeah, John attracts a great crowd. There's some big speakers this year. So we've got like Stephen Bartlett speaking. He's the headline speaker. Dan Henry is going to be coming over from the US. He's big in the online course creation world. And then Ali Abdaal as well. The YouTube personality and former doctor in the NHS, I believe. So he's an interesting guy. I'd love to chat with him. So yeah, there'll be some great people there to meet and get to sit down with. And obviously, like when you're at these things, you get to sit down in the green room behind the scenes, chat to the speakers, go to the speakers' dinner, things like that. So it's always great fun. A friend of mine, Tom Breeze, being a YouTube ads guy, will be speaking there, and lots of other names there that I'm really looking forward to connecting with. And yeah, it'd be a great chance to be there and an honour to be asked to speak, really. As my sons are growing up, and you know, they're still only 1 and 3. Yeah, 1 and 3, I believe, as of when I last checked. They are like, it becomes clear to me as a dad how much of an inspiration they start to become to you, which you never realise before they're even in the world. You don't think of like these people that don't yet exist, why would they inspire me? But then suddenly you create these humans, and then they're like, I think it's just that there's no negativity with them. There's no kind of preconceived notion or limits or bias or limiting beliefs or anything like that. They are just like wide-eyed, open to anything, sponge, learning so much every day, always positive, always happy to see you, can't wait till I get home from the gym in the mornings, and they're like waiting at the door, like looking out the window. It's so exciting for them, and I kind of want to capture that and do them proud. So I think that they are what get me out of bed at the morning. It's my family, my wife, my children are what inspire me. And yeah, I don't think I have to look much deeper than that. You know, there are probably big ambitions that I want to fulfill one day when I get to that stage, in terms of like, I guess, wider, maybe more charitable ventures, things like that. But as it stands currently, the kind of core driver motivator, the thing that fires me up is my direct family, and making them proud and providing for them. Yeah, I think when I first started Dropship Unlocked, because we talked in the last episode about the times where I think it was the last episode, where the times in the e-commerce side of my business where things hit the fan and, you know, went horribly wrong from a cash flow standpoint, and I learned made some big mistakes and learned some big lessons from like trying to apply an American model directly into the UK market, and just kind of like burying my head in the sand about things like corporation tax and VAT, income tax, like, you know, the way the margins work and all that kind of stuff. Just being like, no, I'll just apply the same thing and hope it works, and realizing it very much doesn't. But I think the realizations from running Dropship Unlocked and those moments that I had where I was like, wow, is when you put yourself out there publicly, because with an e-commerce business, you're not the face of it, right? So people aren't coming after you personally, kind of attacking you. But with Dropship Unlocked, it's funny, like as soon as you put yourself out there, you suddenly attract, there's obviously a lot of supporters and people that are pro it and love the education and want to change their life. But then there's also people who've clearly like maybe attempted an online business before, given up when it got hard, and are now in a finger pointing contest, and they want to like point the blame at someone else and stuff. So the amount of times that, and as I said, I don't really see this stuff anymore because it's my team that kind of filter this out and just get rid of the messages, but you definitely get a few haters, and I think you have to be prepared for that, and being called like a scammer because you're selling essentially what is education, and you're like, well, technically, it makes all of the education system worldwide, whether it's degrees or schools or all of that, must be a scam, then kind of by that train of thought. So I think you very quickly realize that those types of comments and things are more of a projection, if anything else. It's actually fascinating. I don't really see it anymore, but when I first started, because I was running the ads myself and I was doing the videos myself, you'd see comments that would come in from people that would, they would like, I don't know, they'd hate on certain things that you say, and it was so clear that it was a projection. It was funny. It's like, does the person who's leaving that not realize what an insight into their own psychology that gives? So yeah, is this like kind of, I don't know, they say there's two ways that you can become the tallest building in the city. You can either build up the tallest building, or you can spend your time trying to tear all the other buildings down so that you're tallest by contrast. And it's very clear to me that the less happy, less fulfilled option that a lot of people take, that is the shortcut, unfortunately, because I think it means that they're sad internally, usually, is to just try and tear other people down. And you just think, imagine if they focused that same amount of like trolling hatred into creating their own business rather than trying to call everything else a scam. You'd be like, well, you'd be flying right now, you'd be so successful. So yeah, it's sad. It's a real insight into like a subsection of psychology. This is a small percentage, right? But I think when you're not prepared for that, when you first come into it, you're like, why is someone trying to like attack me? Because it feels like a personal attack initially, and then you realize that, okay, there's just creative people on the internet, and you kind of just, if you don't see it, and it never even affects you, right? So yeah, I don't even look anymore, to be honest. If I could whisk away to a place right now, there's a place in Playa del Carmen in Mexico that I really enjoyed going. When we went there the first time, my wife Becky and I, before we had children, there was this beach club bar, very chilled, and the sun was setting. We had our feet in the sand. We were eating tempura fish tacos and having like margaritas, and they had these like flame lanterns in the sand on these poles, and it was just such a chilled, calm environment. There was music playing, and I just kind of captured that moment. And they say like you can go back to your happy place at any time. That for me is like, if I'm in a really if it's pouring with rain, I'm in London, people are beeping at each other in traffic, and it's like super stressful, and I'm late for wherever I'm going. If I need to just be like, okay, happy place, I'll just go there, and I'm like, okay, I'm chilled, I can enjoy it. And we actually went back there recently when we were there this year, which was cool. But it's never quite as good when you go back, is it? When you have somewhere fixated in your memory, and you build it up to this thing. So I kind of prefer to keep that one as a memory. But yeah, one of the nice things about VR is that essentially you can go back to those places like instantly. So if you're having a stressful day and you put on your Meta Quest 3 headset or your Apple Vision Pro or whatever, and you just set the scene, and suddenly you're on like an amazing beach in the Maldives, surrounded by sea. And I imagine from a like therapeutic standpoint and a physiological standpoint, it would really like bring down your cortisol, stress levels, your heart rate. Like, I imagine your body wouldn't know much of the difference between the perceived reality and the actual reality. I would ensure that if you're trying to get a business off the ground right now, and maybe you're still working in a 9-to-5 job that you're trying to eventually escape, be very intentional about where you're spending your time. Don't let the inbox dictate your day. Make sure you're planning tomorrow today. So you write down the 3 things at the end of every day that you want to achieve tomorrow. And then when you start your day, you start off with maybe your affirmations, your daily vision of like where you actually want to be. What are the values that are going to then dictate your actions that you take? Who are you as a person? Who do you aspire to be? Who are you becoming? Really, really go deep on that stuff. Read Brian Tracy's book, Goals, that I'm reading at the moment, which is a fascinating reminder of this stuff. Even if you know it already, it will help you reapply it. And then, yes, starting your day just by diving into the 3 big things that you can accomplish. Even if you only accomplish one of those high leverage activities, you're going to be in a way better place than if you let the inbox dictate your day.